Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Welcome back to the Broker Bulletin podcast, everyone. As you know, as brokers, we actually get to a stage where we realise we can't do it alone. So scaling a business isn't just about getting more clients. It's about actually hiring the right people for the right roles to support the growth. And when we hire, it's not just about filling a position. It's about culture, team dynamics, and to make sure everybody that we hire that's in the business is aligned with a broader vision for the business. To help me with this, I'd love to spend some time and unpack it and welcome Preet from Grow & Co. Great to have you here. So welcome, Preet.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Would you be kind enough to unpack your business a bit more for us?
Our business has been, our structure and our operating models changed quite a bit, and it's continually changing. Over the last 3 years, when I first set up the business, we initially had onshore support staff, but now we've moved to a model where I have revenue generating roles onshore. So I have a broker, and then I'm about to hire another broker, and then all support staff offshore, except for one that's part-time that's been with me since day one. But that's sort of the way we're looking to continue to grow our team.
Awesome. Hey, and if I look at the title of the presentation, so hiring the right people for the right roles, if you look at team culture, what defines what makes someone a great fit for your business, Bree?
I try and hire on values first and skills second, because through making a few mistakes and hiring the wrong people with the wrong values, I saw the negative effect it had on the whole team. The way for us is, let's make sure this person has the right values around trust, being hardworking, high performance, growth. Then from that, we can then upskill them and support them and fit them into the team.
That's a good comment, but it's hard to find that out when, like in an initial interview. So beyond skills, how do you figure out if someone is the right fit for your business, and how do you identify if they are going to meet the values of the broader business as well?
We actually, just because I went through the hiring process, I'm going through it at the moment, we've made sure a lot of our questions ask for examples where someone's values were tested in their current role. So we did a bit of that. I involved my team. So 2 other people from my team were part of it as well.
Stay on that for a second. How did you do that, Preet? Like, do you bring them into every interview? And why did you make the shift? Like, why do you bring your team involved with the meeting? That's great.
Because I realized, I used to interview first with me and then bring them in if I needed to. But I quickly learned that if someone doesn't connect well with the team and there's not any, the synergy's not there from a culture and values perspective, things start to spiral real quick. And that's what's happened with my last couple of team members that have finished up. So this time I thought, you know what, from the get-go, let's involve the team. I make the ultimate decision, but then the team can bring something to the table, which is great. So each person, I told them to bring something to the table to interview this person, and they did. So one of the broker brought in like 4 case studies that she had prepared because she really cares about the quality of the way they look at their work. I had someone else going the hard questions, and then I was kind of like good cop. So it worked really well. We didn't give any, normally something like this might be done over 2 or 3 interviews, but we were like, no, we don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste this person's time. Let's just go all in and have a bit more of a heavy interview. And it worked well. And I thought, for the wrong person, if it felt too much, well, then they're probably not right for our team, because we are go, go, go. Also, so I feel that intensity is one of our values without realizing, like we're just so so always all over it. So I felt that why not bring it to the interview from day one? So.
Is that a recent shift, like bringing the team in? You actually seen that started to make a difference with who's actually coming in and being part of the business?
Yeah, it is something new. So in the past, it would be myself, and then potentially bring them in, maybe one of the candidates in the past I brought in for a second interview to meet the team. But this time I thought, you know what, like, why delay it? And let's just go bring in it, like, rather than, just stretch it out. I thought, let's just bring in the team. But then each person had a role. So it wasn't the whole team, but perhaps more of my senior or key roles in the business. I thought it's important for them to be in the interview, because they're the ones that need to work with this person. more than me because I'm trying to step back and work on the business. So the day-to-day grind and the work is with these other team members. So it's important that they also believe in the person that we're bringing on.
I love that because you're right. If they've been part of the interview process and they've actually made the decision to bring them on, they're going to be more invested to ensure they're successful in the role. What happens if they're not the right fit? So talk to me about, because you've spoken about culture earlier on. As we scale, culture can be diluted. What do you do to keep the team connected, aligned with your vision? Let me understand that a bit better.
Last year, we started doing planning days once a year with a 6-monthly check-in, but our team's changed a lot since then. But the way I do it, because most of the team works remotely, so we have daily meetings, quick ones. Then I do weekly one-on-ones, 15 minutes tops, just to, hey, how you going? Talk to me. What do you need? And then we do proper one-on-ones once a month around where they're heading, where the goals are, how I can help them achieve those. Also, the check-ins that I have for 15 minutes, they're usually how are you going with everyone else? How's everyone going? Is there anything I should be aware of? So it's also a way to kind of check in and see what everyone feels about working with one another and if there's anything I need to jump on. And that's been really powerful, whereas I feel like daily meetings don't let you do that. But a quick 15-minute chat one-on-one, it's Preet makes the time every week to talk to me, to go through how I feel. There's a bit more transparency, which helps with the culture and feeling connected. And then we try and do, the usual birthdays, dinners and Christmas dinners, and in between we'll try and do things as well. But I don't feel they have the same effect as me just talking to them and giving them the time to just make sure they feel heard.
Let me understand this. So you started to talk about one-on-ones. Talk to us about your weekly operating rhythm. So as we're scaling the team to make them feel connected with the broader business, let us understand what's your operating rhythm look like?
In terms of our meeting cadence?
Yeah, meeting as team and then the individual one-on-ones.
So in the morning, we'll have our 30-minute daily check-in, video call. Everyone talks about the main things they've got on that day. Anyone that feels they're got too much on and need a bit of help, and we can kind of prioritize and move things around so that way the key things are being done. And then I check in if there's anything people need me to jump in and help them with. So if deals are going pear-shaped or there's things that they need help with, I know in the morning so I can make time for it. So that happens in the morning, but that also goes ahead even if I'm not available. A team always goes ahead with that. The other meetings is the one-on-one. So I allow 30 minutes, but it's usually 15-minute video call. How you going? And then once a month we have each person has a plan. I call it a planning session, but it's more just how they're going for that month, how they're planning to go for the next month, and if they need anything more from me. We're about to roll out, because we've had a bit of a shift in the team. We're about to do team meetings, but I'm not sure if I want to keep that at monthly just to talk about what's happening, what the goals are, and plans forward.
It's important. You keep evolving, don't you? Based on what your staff are looking for, but also the operating rhythm for the business. You keep evolving to make sure that we're meeting the expectations. Let me look at this. So a couple of things to unpack. You have your team involved with the recruitment. So let me go back onto that, which I love. I think that's really smart. And that's been something you've shifted more recently. Can you give us a couple of examples? One thing you said about that recent hire, it was almost like it was a proper interview. Talk to us about how, when you're interviewing new people to come into the business, how have you evolved? I understand you get the team involved, but how have you shifted? Because in the past, it was more like you were trying to build a friendship or a relationship with someone. Now you're very clear on your expectations. Even talk to those, you send them away to do 4 scenarios. They were a broker and they had to go away and do the work. So that's a real shift. Let me understand that.
It's probably from mistakes I've made. I've hired because I've liked someone or I think they've got a good attitude. And then once they've started or over time, we learn that that's not entirely accurate. And what I also realized is our team's pretty high performing, particularly the other broker in my team and one of the support staff. So they have really high standards. And what I realized pretty quickly is when people aren't living up to those standards and working to those standards, it has a pretty big effect on them from a morale.
Can you unpack that a bit more? What's the impact on the team if you've got someone that's not performing, and do they share that with you?
Yeah, the morale definitely, you see that drop. So one of our values is fun. And we have jokes all day.
You are pretty fun.
Yeah, thanks. We work pretty hard though. Like we will be working, relentlessly to get stuff done. And then, yes, we'll have lots of jokes and have a good time. But I think sometimes new hires have thought, oh, this is just a fun party place. Like they just joke around all day. And then when the quality of the work wasn't there, or there were gaps or things weren't getting done, or there was poor attitude, things like that, you could start seeing my high performers, they started to drop. And I let it happen a couple of times and I kind of said, no, guys, you've got to put in the work too, just give this person a chance. But then I realized.
So they would bring it to you. So you create an environment within your team that if someone wasn't performing, the other team were confident enough to have the discussion?
Yeah, 100%. And I think those weekly check-ins, and I always say it's a safe space to share how everyone feels. And I don't go and, start yelling at another person because someone said this or anything like that. It's always safe space. And I always encourage everyone vent to me, not to each other, because I'd rather you just, if you need to have a whinge, have it to me, but not to each other, because that affects the whole business. So I have seen a shift where they feel comfortable to do that, and I will let them, even though sometimes in my head I'm like, this is so out of proportion to what's really, but I just think, you know what, I need to.
You don't say that to them though, do you?
I also understand when you're under the pump and you're working really hard and there's someone not pulling their weight, it does feel a lot bigger than perhaps it is because you're carrying so much more pressure.
That is so important. That's for everybody that's listening. There's studies on this. It's so important. What ends up happening is, let's say you've got a couple of star employees in your business at a 9 out of 10, okay? And you hire and you retain someone that's not the right fit, and say they're a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10. What ends up happening is your best people carry the load for the underperformer. So then what we've got is we've got not only a culture issue, but we've actually got a retention issue of our best people. So do you want to unpack that for me? Like, what's your thoughts around that statement, Preet?
I agree. And I think with my last hire, I was actually doing some coaching work where I was talking about having your A players and then your D players and the impact.
Yeah.
And someone said to me, you want to know how to keep your A players on board? Like, get rid of your D players. And I was like, okay.
So good.
And the next day I went in and...
Was that a D player or an A player? It said that.
It was actually it was the coaching program I was part of. And they were saying that that's the biggest driver of disengagement is not managing your underperformers. It also creates engagement if you do manage underperformers quickly. So the next day I pretty much got working on moving the CD players out, and then I saw an instant shift to my A players, and that's when I realized, okay, now I need to be so ruthless with my hiring process. Going back to that, where we had the case studies, we didn't even let them go away. It was done in that same interview, and that person didn't even realize till the end. We're like, here you go, before you go home, can you do this and give it to us? And we made sure that we stressed how important high standards are. I also was really transparent with previous people being moved on because they weren't hitting those high standards, because I realized the wrong person will hear that and go, oh, okay, I might not get away with it here. It might not be the right organization or fit for me. So then they can move on. Whereas if someone really backs themselves and they can hear that, then they're going to want to be part of a business and add value.
Tell me one other thing. Let's say we've got a business that's watching today that's ready to make their first hire. What are the tips? Or what's like for someone that's getting ready to go down the path of hiring their first person to be able to give them more capacity to get in front of more clients? What's a tip or the most important thing they need to walk away with?
One of the mistakes I made was I hired when I needed, not before I needed. So I was often stressed, under the pump, and just desperate to have a bum on the seat. So I didn't perhaps make the right decisions. So if you're looking to hire before you need, but most importantly, hire on the values. So know your own business's values, and then hire someone that you can see aligns with those values. And then if you have the money, try and hire someone with experience. I had to train my first hire from scratch. And when it's only you, it's a lot of work. So I feel that if the first hire, it's so important to have someone that can immediately add value so you can continue to grow the business.
That's brilliant. And it probably leads me into, like, Broker Bulletin is all about the 1%ers that really help you grow your business. So what's a 1%er that you do every day that's really helped you to grow your business and shift the dial?
It's still a work in progress, but it's something I picked up in the Elevate program with yourself, which was dedicating set time each week to running parts of the business. So the lead gen and the prospecting, and then building new connections, managing my finances, managing the team, even have health and well-being in there. So, I'll make sure every day there's set times that I'm like, nah, this is non-negotiable.
How do you control it? So, how you're saying it, is that just your calendar, or how do you do it?
Yeah, that's right, in my calendar. Like I said, it's a work in progress because, you're quick to bump things like go for a walk if you've got an urgent deal or something. But it's definitely much better at it this year than I was in the past. So that's been really good because, there's non-negotiable slots in there, particularly around most of our business is through referral partners and relationships. So to just check back in, it's good to have that set in my calendar every week.
Yeah, thank you, Preet. So if I take time just to wrap up a couple of things, so many key takeaways that I've taken out of the conversation, but a couple that really stood out for me was I love how you get your team involved with the interview process. I think that's really good because it aligns to culture, but it also gets their buy-in. Don't tolerate underperformers in your business. So if we need to move, if someone's not the right cultural fit, but you've invested time in their development, but they're not the right person, we need to move them out because of the possible impact that they could have on your better performers. What was the other thing? Hire before you need to. It's not like we're trying to fill a gap. We're actually being smart, strategic, working on the business, and we're making the right changes to get us ready for the future. So in view of that, thank you so much for your time today, Preet. Absolutely love spending time with you, and I hope everybody online got a lot of value out of that conversation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.